The recruitment shuttle touched down on Platform Gamma with all the grace of a drunk meteor. I watched through the observation deck as the landing struts groaned under the weight, hydraulics hissing like they were having a personal crisis. My name is Krell, and I'd been stationed at the Galactic Military Academy for 6 solar cycles. 6 cycles of watching the so-called elite from 100 different worlds strut through those gates like they owned the universe. Today was different, though. Today, we were getting a human. "You think the rumors are true?" Vask asked, his 3 eyes blinking in sequence. He was Torgelian, built like a walking tank made of muscle and bad decisions. "About what? That they eat their own young? That they wrestle predators for fun?" I clicked my mandibles in what passed for amusement among my people. "Come on, Vask. Half of what you hear about humans is propaganda, and the other half is probably them messing with us." The shuttle door opened with a hiss, and out stepped our new recruit. She was small, maybe 5.5 feet of compact build, with dark hair pulled back tight, and eyes that looked like they'd seen things that would make a Crothian war priest weep. Her uniform was standard issue, but something about the way she wore it suggested she'd rather be wearing something with more pockets and fewer regulations. "Cadet Maya Torres, reporting," she said, her voice carrying across the platform without any apparent effort. Commander Drath, our head instructor, loomed over her. He was Velkarian, which meant he stood roughly 9 feet tall and had a face that looked like someone had carved it from granite, while angry. Very angry. "Torres," he pronounced it like he was chewing rocks. "You're late." "With respect, sir, the shuttle was delayed due to solar winds in the Kepler sector. I was on time. The universe wasn't." Oh, this was going to be fun. Drath's face, if possible, got even rockier. "Is that sarcasm, Cadet?" "No, sir. That's physics." Vask made a choking sound beside me. I elbowed him in what I hoped was a rib. With Torgelians, you could never be quite sure. "You think you're clever?" Drath leaned down, bringing his massive face level with hers. "You think because your species punched its way into space on primitive rockets and sheer stupidity that you deserve to be here?" Torres didn't blink, didn't flinch, just met his eyes with the kind of calm that made me suddenly nervous for Drath. "No, sir. I think I'm here because I scored in the top percentile on every entrance exam, qualified expert on 14 different weapon systems, and speak 6 languages, 3 of which I learned on the transport here because I was bored." The silence that followed could have collapsed into a black hole. "Bored," Drath repeated slowly. "Very bored, sir. Long trip. Lots of study materials. I also read the entire Academy Combat Manual. Found 3 contradictions in Chapter 7 regarding zero-gravity close quarters. Combat. I made notes. I couldn't help it. I laughed. Not a big laugh, just a small chirp that escaped before I could stop it. Drath's head swiveled toward me like a weapons turret, and I suddenly found the floor very interesting. "Something amusing, Instructor Krell?" "No, sir. Just clearing my respiratory system, sir." He turned back to Torres. "You'll bunk in Delta Wing. Training begins at dawn cycle. Standard Academy time, not whatever backward rotation your planet uses. Dismissed." Torres saluted, crisp and perfect, then grabbed her pack and walked past us without a second glance. As she passed, I heard her mutter under her breath, "Dawn cycle. Like I haven't been awake for 36 hours already." Vask waited until she was out of earshot. "I like her." "You like everyone who talks back to Drath." "True, but I really like her." The first week was, predictably, a disaster. Not for Torres, though. For everyone else. The Academy didn't coddle recruits. The philosophy was simple. Break them down, see what they're made of, then build them back up into something useful. Or wash them out. Mostly wash them out, honestly. Day 1 started with physical assessment. Standard stuff. Endurance run through the obstacle course, a maze of walls, pits, swinging barriers, and things specifically designed to hurt. Torres stood in line with the other recruits. There were 40 of them, representing 24 species. Gorvax the Mighty, a Drenthian who looked like he could bench press a shuttle. Lyra, a Sophon whose species evolved from avian predators and had reflexes that made Quicksilver look slow. Brath and Gron, twin Korgets built like walking artillery pieces. And Torres, who looked like she weighed maybe $120 soaking wet. "This is gonna be painful to watch," Vask muttered beside me. The course record was held by a Velkarian named Grend, the Unstoppable. 7 minutes, 32 seconds. Anything under 15 minutes was considered acceptable. Most recruits clocked in around 20. "Begin!" Drath's voice boomed across the field. They exploded forward. Gorvax took an early lead, his massive legs eating up ground. Lyra was airborne half the time, using her wings to clear obstacles. The twins moved like synchronized machines. Torres started at a steady jog. "What's she doing?" Vask asked. "Being smart, maybe." I watched as she approached the first wall. It was 15 feet of smooth composite, designed to be just barely climbable. Most recruits threw themselves at it, scrabbling for purchase. Torres hit it at a run, got maybe 4 feet up, then kicked off sideways to a support strut, used that to bounce higher, caught the top edge with one hand, and flipped herself over in one fluid motion. "Okay, that was pretty smooth," I admitted. The course was designed to test everything: strength, speed, agility, problem-solving. The pit of synthetic mud that sucked at your legs. The balance beams that shifted weight randomly. The rope climb that went up 70 feet to a platform, then required you to swing across to another tower. Gorvax was struggling in the mud, his bulk working against him. Lyra sailed over it but got caught at the ropes, her light frame struggling with the climb. Torres hit the mud at speed and immediately went horizontal, spreading her weight and basically swimming through it. It looked ridiculous. It also worked. Is she doing the backstroke?" Vask sounded amazed. "I think so. Yeah." She cleared the mud, popped up, and kept moving. The ropes should have been her downfall. She wasn't built for pure climbing strength. Instead, she wrapped the rope around her leg, used it for leverage, and practically ran up the thing using a technique I'd seen Terran sailors use in historical footage. "She's not going to beat the record," I said, "but she might crack top 10. Wrong. So wrong. Torres hit the final sprint, the home stretch that separated the decent from the exceptional. And she opened up. Whatever she'd been holding in reserve came out, and she moved like gravity was a suggestion rather than a law. 12 minutes, 18 seconds. Fourth fastest time in Academy history. She crossed the finish line, barely breathing hard, while Gorvax was still in the mud, and half the class was scattered across the course like casualties. Drath stared at the timer, like it had personally insulted him. "Acceptable," he finally said. Torres just nodded, grabbed a water pack, and walked to the sideline. Day 3 brought combat assessment. Hand-to-hand, no weapons, no enhancements. Just skill and whatever you were born with. The arena was a circle, 30 feet across, surrounded by energy barriers. The rules were simple. Stay in the circle. Fight until someone yields or can't continue. Try not to kill anyone permanently. Torres's first match was against a Crothian named Sev. Crothians were bad news in a fight, all chitin armor and 4 arms ending in blades. Sev stood maybe 7 feet tall and looked like evolution's answer to the question, what if we made a nightmare out of knives? Torres stood across from him, looking thoughtful. This is going to be quick, someone muttered from the observation ring. They were right, just not the way they expected. The match started. Sev came in fast, all 4 arms moving in patterns designed to overwhelm and slice. It was beautiful and terrifying. Torres ducked under the first strike, stepped inside the second, and did something I'd never seen before. She grabbed one of his arms, used his own momentum against him, and somehow flipped all 7 feet and 300 pounds of angry Crothian over her hip and into the mat hard enough to crack it. Sev lay there, stunned. Not hurt, just completely shocked. Yield? Torres asked politely. He tapped out. Match 2 was against Lyra, the Sophon. This one I thought Torres might lose. Sophons were fast, trained from birth in aerial combat techniques. Lyra came in like a whirlwind, strikes coming, from angles that shouldn't exist. Torres took 3 hits, blocked 5 more, and I could see her analyzing, processing. Then she smiled. Bad sign. I was learning that when Torres smiled, someone was about to have a very bad day. She waited for Lyra's next attack, a diving strike from above, and instead of dodging, she rolled backward, caught Lyra's leg, and used the momentum to slam her into the ground. Before Lyra could recover, Torres had her in some kind of joint lock that looked extremely painful. Yield? Lyra tapped frantically. By day 5, no one wanted to fight Torres. She's not even that strong, Brath complained at mess hall. I watched her struggle with the weights in strength training. She's average, maybe below average for her size. Yeah, but she's fast, Gron countered, and she thinks 3 moves ahead. She fights like physics is her best friend, and your body is just math waiting to be solved, Vask added, around a mouthful of protein paste. It's disturbing and impressive. I'd been thinking about it, actually. Humans were weird. They weren't the strongest species, not even close, weren't the fastest, didn't have natural weapons or armor. But they had something else. They had adaptability, creativity, and apparently a complete willingness to use everything and everyone's expectations against them. Week 2 brought tactical simulations. This was where the Academy separated the soldiers from the warriors. Anyone could fight. True military officers needed to think, plan, adapt. The simulation was brutal. A hostage scenario in a space station, limited resources, enemy forces that outnumbered your team 3-1. You had to plan the rescue, execute it, and get everyone out alive. Most teams failed. It was designed that way. Torres's team consisted of her, Gorvax, Lyra, and a Sophon tech specialist named Quinn. Not a bad mix, but not ideal either. I watched from the control room as they loaded into the simulation. The space station materialized around them, all tight corridors and blind corners. Standard approach is to go in quiet, eliminate guards silently, extract the hostages before anyone knows what's happening, Vask commented. Torres was studying the layout on her wrist display. This is stupid. What is? Quinn asked. The whole thing. Look at the ventilation system. Those ducts are big enough for a person. Sure, but they're monitored. You'd trigger alarms the second you entered. Would I, though? Torres pulled up a schematic. The sensors are motion-based. They're not looking for airflow changes. Quinn, can you hack the environmental controls from here? Maybe? What are you thinking? I'm thinking we pump all the oxygen out of the hostage room and redirect it into the duct system. Guards have to leave or suffocate. We go in through the ducts while they're evacuating their people, grab the hostages, and exit through the maintenance airlock on Deck 3 before they even know what happened. Gorvax blinked. That's actually brilliant. That's cheating, Lyra said. No, it's thinking outside the box they built. Torres grinned. The simulation doesn't say we have to fight them. Just rescue the hostages. So let's not fight. Let's outsmart them instead. They executed it perfectly. 14 minutes from start to finish. 0 casualties. The enemy never even saw them. Drath watched the playback 3 times. She ignored every standard tactical protocol, he finally said. Yes, sir, I agreed. Completely disregarded the established approach. Yes, sir. And achieved the objective with optimal efficiency. Yes, sir. He was quiet for a long moment. I hate that I'm impressed. By week 3, something had shifted. The other recruits stopped seeing Torres as the weird human who got lucky. They started seeing her as someone to learn from. I found her in the library one evening, surrounded by data pads. Studying? I asked. Always. She didn't look up. Did you know that Velkarian combat doctrine hasn't been updated in 300 years? That's because it works. Does it, though? I've been running simulations. Your tactics are solid for direct confrontation. But they're predictable. Any enemy who's fought Velkarians before knows exactly what you're going to do. I sat down across from her. You've been here 3 weeks, and you're criticizing doctrine that's won 1,000 battles. I'm not criticizing. I'm analyzing. There's a difference. She finally looked at me. Commander Drath said something the first day about my species punching into space on primitive rockets and sheer stupidity. He meant it as an insult. And he's not wrong. We are stupid. We do things that don't make sense. We take risks that any sane species would avoid. But that's exactly why we win sometimes. Because we don't know we're supposed to lose. That's a dangerous philosophy. Maybe. But it's kept us alive in a universe that's been trying to kill us since we climbed down from the trees. She smiled. You want to know the real secret of humans, Krell? Sure. We're really, really good at not dying when we probably should. We're persistence incarnate. We don't quit. Ever. And that terrifies people because they don't understand it. The alarm klaxon shattered the moment. Red lights flashed throughout the facility. All personnel. Battle stations. This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill. Torres was on her feet instantly. What's happening? I don't know. I pulled up my command interface. Oh no. What? Raiders. A whole fleet just dropped out of jump space. They're heading straight for us. The Academy had defenses, but we were primarily a training facility. We had some firepower, but against a full Raider fleet? This was bad. Really bad. We ran for the command center. Drath was already there, coordinating defensive positions. Status? He barked. 23 ships, various classes. They're jamming communications. We can't call for reinforcement. Estimated time until they're in firing range? 15 minutes. Torres stepped forward. Sir, request permission to speak. Not now, Cadet. Sir, with respect, I have an idea. I said not now. Commander. Her voice cut through the chaos. When I got here, you asked if I thought I deserved to be here, because humanity punched into space on primitive rockets and sheer stupidity. Well, sir, we're about to find out exactly how useful that stupid can be. So with all due respect, shut up and listen. The entire command center went silent. Drath turned slowly. Cadet Torres, you just committed about 7 violations of military protocol. Yes, sir. Court-martial me later. Right now, I need you to trust me. They locked eyes. Seconds ticked past. You have 2 minutes, Drath finally said. Convince me. Torres moved to the tactical display. They're coming in confident. Why? Because they outnumber us, Vask said. Exactly. They think this is going to be easy, so we make it look even easier. I'm listening, Drath said. We drop shields on the western defensive grid. Make it look like a malfunction. They'll concentrate their attack there, thinking we're vulnerable. That's insane. We'll be vulnerable. For about 30 seconds. Then we overload the power from those shields into the main cannon. One shot, maximum power, right into the center of their formation. That would destroy the western grid permanently. Yes, sir, but it might just save all our lives. Another alarm. They're accelerating. 10 minutes to weapons range. Drath looked at the display, at Torres, at the approaching fleet. Do it, he said. Everyone, battle stations. Torres, you're with me. If this works, you get a commendation. If it fails, we all die anyway. Comforting, sir. Wasn't meant to be. The next 9 minutes were the longest of my life. We watched the Raider fleet approach, their ships spreading into attack formation. Professional. Experienced. Deadly. The western shield grid flickered, then dropped. They've spotted it, the sensor officer reported. They're adjusting approach. Torres was at a terminal, fingers flying across controls. Come on, just a little closer. 8 ships breaking formation, heading for the gap. Perfect, exactly what we want. 5 minutes to weapons range. Drath stood rigid, trusting a 3-week cadet with all our lives. I had to respect that. Main cannon charged to 140%, Torres reported. We get one shot at this, Commander. Miss, and we're done. Then don't miss. Not planning on it, sir. The Raiders entered weapons range. Their forward ships opened fire, testing our defenses. Now, Drath ordered. Torres slammed her hand down. The Academy's main cannon was designed for anti-capital ship warfare. Normally, it fired at 60% capacity to avoid burning out the systems. Torres had pushed it to 140. The beam that erupted from the facility was like a star being born. It carved, through space, through the lead Raider ship, through the 3 ships behind it, and kept going until it dissipated somewhere past the moon. The explosion was visible from the surface. Direct hit, someone shouted. 4 enemy ships destroyed, 2 more heavily damaged. The remaining Raiders scattered, their perfect formation breaking apart into chaos. Hit them while they're confused, Drath commanded. All batteries, fire at will. The battle lasted another 20 minutes. Without their numerical advantage and their command ship, the Raiders broke and ran. We'd won. Barely. Torres slumped in her chair, the adrenaline crash hitting her hard. Did that actually work? Cadet Torres, Drath said. She stood, swaying slightly. Sir? That was the most reckless, dangerous, idiotic plan I've ever seen executed in 40 years of military service. Yes, sir. It also saved approximately 4,000 lives. Thank you, sir. Don't thank me yet. You destroyed a multi-million credit defensive grid and violated so many safety protocols I've lost count. He paused. You'll be written up for commendation and simultaneously court-martialed for the violations. Congratulations. That seems fair, sir. After the adrenaline faded and the damage reports came in, I found Torres on the observation deck, staring out at the stars. Hey, I said. Hey, yourself. That was insane. Yep. You could have gotten us all killed. Yep. So, why'd you do it? She was quiet for a moment. Because someone had to. And everyone else was thinking about what they should do, what the regulations said, what the proper tactical response was. Me? I just thought about what might work. Humans, I said, shaking my head. Yeah, We're a problem. She smiled. But we're your problem now. Commander Drath wants to see you tomorrow. Something about your permanent assignment here. Permanent? He's recommending you for the Advanced Tactical Program. Says you have, quote, the most aggravatingly effective mind for unconventional warfare he's ever encountered. I'll take that as a compliment. You should. Coming from him, it is. We stood there in silence, watching the stars. Somewhere out there, the Raider fleet was licking its wounds, probably wondering what the hell had just happened. Krell? Torres said. Yeah? That question Drath asked me. About whether I deserve to be here. What about it? I've been thinking about it, and I've decided the answer is no. I looked at her, surprised. I don't deserve to be here, she continued. None of us do. Deserve has nothing to do with it. We're here because we choose to be. Because someone has to stand between the people who can't fight and the people who want to hurt them. That's not about deserving. That's about duty. That's very philosophical for someone who just blew up 4 ships. Hey, I contain multitudes. Apparently. 3 months later, Torres had become something of a legend. Not the good kind that gets statues. More, the kind that makes instructors nervous when her name appears on class rosters. She'd formed what Vask called the Chaos Squad, though Torres insisted on calling it the Tactical Innovation Group. 12 recruits from 8 different species, all hand-picked by her. All slightly unhinged in ways that made Drath's eye twitch. I was observing their field exercise when everything went sideways. All right, people, listen up. Torres addressed her team in the briefing room. Today's scenario is planetary defense. We're outnumbered, outgunned, and Command expects us to hold the line for 6 hours until reinforcements arrive. Gorvax raised a massive hand. What's the actual objective? Survive. Keep civilian casualties below 20%. Maintain control of the primary spaceport. Sounds straightforward, Lyra said, which was her way of saying it sounded impossible. It's not. Torres pulled up a holographic map. The terrain is garbage for defense. 3 approach vectors, minimal cover, and they've got air superiority. By the book, we lose in 90 minutes. So, we're not going by the book, Quinn finished. Have we ever? The simulation loaded. Torres's team materialized on a dusty red planet, wind howling across barren rock formations. The spaceport sat in a valley, tactically the worst possible position. Enemy forces incoming, the computer announced. Wave 1 arrives in 10 minutes. Quinn, I need you on the spaceport control systems, Torres ordered. Lyra, take your fire team to the eastern ridge. Gorvax, you're with me. Everyone else, scatter to your assigned positions. And remember, if this looks stupid but works, it's not stupid, the team chorused. I watched from the control room alongside Drath and a visiting admiral named Korsov. She was Tyrellian, species known for producing some of the finest strategic minds in the galaxy. She'd come to evaluate Academy training protocols. Unconventional team structure, Korsov observed. That's one word for it, Drath muttered. The enemy appeared on sensors. 30 armored vehicles, air support, approximately 200 infantry, against Torres's 12. They're not even setting up defensive positions, Korsov noted with disapproval. What are they doing? Torres and Gorvax were at the spaceport, working on something. Quinn was inside the control tower. The rest of her team was spread across the ridges, in what looked like random positions. Computer, give me a comm line to Torres, I requested. Cadet, what's your plan here? Her voice came back steady. Trust the process, instructor. That's not reassuring. It's not meant to be. The enemy force split into 3 groups, exactly as predicted. They began their advance on the spaceport from multiple angles. 5 minutes to contact, the computer announced. Torres was still at the landing pads, directing Gorvax to move cargo containers, building what looked like a ramp. A very specific ramp. "Oh no," Vask said beside me. "I know that look. She's about to do something incredible or catastrophic." "Why not both?" I suggested. 2 minutes to contact. "Quinn, status?" Torres called out. "Control systems are mine. Gravity plating is responding. This is either genius or we're all going to die embarrassed." "I'll take those odds. Everyone, on my mark, execute Phoenix Protocol." Drath leaned forward. "What's Phoenix Protocol?" "I have no idea, sir." 1 minute to contact. The enemy forces converged. Their air support screamed overhead, preparing attack runs. Ground forces moved with professional precision. "Mark!" Torres shouted. Multiple things happened simultaneously. Quinn reversed the gravity on landing pad 3. Not turned it off, reversed it. The cargo containers Torres had positioned went flying upward like massive projectiles, slamming into 2 of the enemy aircraft. They went down in fireballs. Lyra's team on the eastern ridge opened fire, but not at the enemy. They shot the cliff face above them, triggering a controlled rock slide that blocked the eastern approach entirely. The western team did something even stranger. They'd rigged fuel cells from the spaceport into improvised explosives and buried them in the sand. When the enemy armor rolled over them, the entire western approach erupted in a chain reaction of explosions. That left the southern force, still at full strength, pouring toward the spaceport. Torres and Gorvax were on the ramp she'd built, and Gorvax was holding one of the spaceport's cargo shuttles. Not in it, holding it. On his shoulders. "You're kidding," Korsov breathed. "She's not," Drath said, sounding resigned. Torres had turned the ramp into a launch platform. Gorvax, with his absurd strength, hurled the entire shuttle at the approaching southern force like the world's largest bowling ball. The shuttle tumbled end over end, crashed into their formation, and scattered armored vehicles like toys. The explosion took out half their force in one shot. "All teams, converge on remaining hostiles. Let's clean this up." The fight lasted another 20 minutes. Torres's team moved like they shared one brain, covering each other, adapting to every change. When the simulation ended, they'd achieved total victory with 0 casualties and held the spaceport. Civilian losses? 0%. The hologram faded. Torres's team stood in the training room, breathing hard but grinning. Admiral Korsov was silent for a long moment. "That was the most absurd tactical performance I have ever witnessed," she finally said. Torres stiffened. "Yes, ma'am. You violated at least 15 established protocols, used equipment in ways specifically prohibited by safety regulations, and threw a spacecraft at the enemy like a primitive throwing a rock. In my defense, ma'am, it was a really big rock. Cadet Torres, do you think war is a joke?" "No, ma'am. I think war is hell. But I also think if we're not willing to be creative, we're just throwing lives away, following rules, the enemy." "Already knows," Korsov studied her. "You're human." "Yes, ma'am. I've read the reports about your species, how you fought a war against yourselves for thousands of years, how you weaponized everything from horses to atoms, how you turned orbital mechanics into a weapon before you even left your home system." "We're overachievers, ma'am." "You're dangerous." Korsov approached Torres. "Your species looks at the universe and sees potential. Where we see a cargo shuttle, you see a missile. Where we see gravity plating, you see a catapult. Where we see established doctrine, You see suggestions to ignore. Is there a question coming, ma'am? Yes. How would you like a position on my staff? The room went dead silent. Torres blinked. I'm sorry. What? I'm assembling a special operations unit. Mixed species, unconventional warfare specialists. We handle situations where traditional military approaches fail. Based on what I just witnessed, you'd be perfect. Admiral, she's still a cadet, Drath interjected. Then promote her. Field commission. I have the authority. Korsov never took her eyes off Torres. Well, cadet, what do you say? I say I need to talk to my team first. Your team? Yes, ma'am, because if I go, they go, all of them. We work together, or not at all. Korsov smiled. It was not a comforting smile. I was hoping you'd say that. You have 2 hours to decide. Dismissed. Torres and her squad gathered in the rec room. The mood was tense. Special operations, Gorvax said slowly. That's serious business. Real combat, not simulations, Lyra added. People actually trying to kill us, Quinn finished. Torres nodded. Yeah, it's a lot. That's why I'm asking, not telling. Anyone who wants to stay here at the academy, finish their training the normal way, I completely understand. This is your call. What do you want to do? Gorvax asked. Honestly, I came here to learn how to fight, how to protect people. Korsov's offering a chance to actually do that, not just practice it. Torres looked at each of them. But I'm not doing it alone. We're a team. We stay a team, or I turn it down. Show of hands, Lyra suggested. Who's in? 12 hands went up. Instantly. No hesitation. Torres's eyes got suspiciously shiny. You're all idiots. Takes one to know one, Vask called from the doorway. And for the record, I'm coming too. Someone needs to keep you maniacs from getting killed. You're an instructor. I'm requesting a transfer. Turns out watching you people almost die in simulations has been the most fun I've had in years. Might as well make it real. 2 hours later, they stood before Admiral Korsov again. We're in, Torres said. All of us. Excellent. Report to Base 7 at 0600 tomorrow. We ship out for the outer reaches. What's the assignment, ma'am? Classified until we're underway. But I'll give you a preview. There's a pirate stronghold that's been raiding colony worlds for 2 years. 3 conventional military. Strikes have failed to dislodge them. They're dug in, heavily fortified, and they know we're coming. Sounds like fun. It sounds like a nightmare, which is why I need people who think like you. Dismissed. That evening, I found Torres on the observation deck again. Seemed to be her thinking spot. Big day, I said. Biggest of my life. No pressure or anything. You nervous? Terrified. But that's good, right? Means I'm taking it seriously. You know what you're walking into? Special operations isn't like the academy. The failures out there don't reset. People don't respawn. I know. She was quiet for a moment. Krell, can I ask you something? Sure. Why do you think the Admiral picked me? Really? I considered that. Because you're exactly what the military needs, and exactly what it fears. You don't think inside the box. You don't even acknowledge the box exists. That makes you unpredictable, which makes you effective. Or dead. Or both, not mutually exclusive. She laughed. You're terrible at pep talks. It's a gift. Look, Maya, you want the truth. You scare people. Not because you're violent or cruel. Because you make them question everything they think they know. Every established tactic, every rule, every assumption. That's uncomfortable. But it's also necessary. Heavy thoughts for a Friday night. It's Tuesday. Is it? I've lost track. She stretched. Well, If I'm going to go run headfirst into danger with my band of misfits, I should probably get some sleep. Probably wise. She started to leave, then paused. Hey, Krell. Thanks for not treating me like I was crazy these past few months. Oh, you're definitely crazy. I just decided crazy was an asset. I'll take it. The next morning came too fast. Bay 7 was organized chaos as Torres's new unit loaded equipment. The ship was a Phantom-class stealth frigate designed for quick insertions and questionable decisions. Admiral Korsov was there personally to see them off. Final briefing once you're underway, she told Torres, but understand this. Where you're going, there's no backup, no reinforcements. You succeed, or you don't come back. Clear? Crystal, ma'am. Good. Your call sign for this operation is Raven Squad. Try to live up to it. The squad boarded. I watched with Drath from the observation platform as the ship powered up. Think they'll make it? I asked. Torres. She'll either revolutionize special operations warfare or get court-martialed for blowing up something important. Possibly both. He paused. I give them 60-40 odds. In favor of success? In favor of survival. Success is maybe 30-70. You're really bad at encouragement, too. Must be why we get along. The ship lifted off smoothly, engines humming. As it cleared the atmosphere, Torres's voice came over the comm. Raven Squad to Academy Control. Thanks for the education. We'll try not to embarrass you too badly. Academy Control to Raven Squad, Drath replied. Torres, 1. Last thing. Sir? When you get where you're going and the enemy asks who you are, make sure they remember your answer. Make them regret asking. Understood? A pause. Then, understood, sir. See you when we get back. You'd better, Cadet. You still have that court-martial to attend. The ship accelerated, jumping to faster than light in a flash of bent space-time. They were gone. So, now what? Vask asked. Now we wait, I said, and hope that wherever they're going, the enemy is ready for whatever insanity Torres has planned. Nobody's ready for that? Fair point. 4 weeks later, the reports started coming in. Fragmented, classified, mostly rumor. But the word spread through military channels. The pirate stronghold? Gone. Completely dismantled. How? Nobody would say officially. But unofficial stories leaked. Stories about a small team that infiltrated through a garbage disposal chute. About someone using the station's own defensive weapons against it. About a human who, when surrounded by 20 pirates demanding to know who she was, apparently smiled and said something that made hardened criminals surrender on the spot. The phrase that kept appearing in reports, the one that spread across military bases and colony worlds, became legend. When asked her identity, Maya Torres had looked her enemies dead in the eye and said, I'm the human they sent, because the conventional forces failed. So, let me ask you something. Do you all want this smoke? Because I brought enough for everybody. Half the pirates surrendered immediately. The other half tried to fight. None of them succeeded. Raven Squad returned to the Academy 6 weeks after departure. Their ship bore scorch marks and weapon damage. The team looked exhausted, battered, but very much alive. Torres walked down the ramp, her squad behind her. Admiral Korsov was waiting. Mission report, Korsov demanded. Pirate base neutralized, hostages recovered, 0 friendly casualties, approximately 40 enemy combatants detained for trial. The rest won't be bothering anyone anymore. Casualties on their side? They had opportunities to surrender. Some took them. Others chose poorly. Korsov's expression was unreadable. There will be an official inquiry. I expected nothing less, ma'am. And unofficially? Torres met her gaze. Unofficially, ma'am, they asked for this smoke. We delivered. The Admiral almost smiled. Almost. Debriefing at 1400 hours. Get cleaned up. All of you look like hell. Funny story about that, ma'am. Save it for the debriefing. Dismissed. Later, in the mess hall, Torres's squad gathered around their usual table. Word had spread. Other cadets watched them with new respect, some with fear. So, what now? Gorvax asked. Now we do it again, Torres said simply. Korsov has a list. Apparently, there are lots of problems that need unconventional solutions. How long a list? Lyra asked. Long enough to keep us busy for years. Quinn grinned. Good. I was getting bored anyway. I approached their table. Mind if I sit? Instructor Krell, please. Torres gestured to a seat. How have things been here? Quiet. Boring. No one's blown up any defensive grids or thrown spacecraft at enemies. It's been disappointingly normal. We can fix that. Please don't. We sat in comfortable silence for a moment. They're calling you the smoke bringer, I finally said. The human who asked the pirates if they wanted smoke. Torres laughed. That's ridiculous. That's what happens when you become a legend. People give you dramatic names. I just asked a question. A very memorable question, apparently. Vask joined us, tray loaded with enough food for 3 people. So I heard a rumor. 3 more pirate groups surrendered without a fight when they heard Raven Squad was coming for them next. Seriously? Torres looked stunned. Seriously. You've become what pirates tell their kids about to make them behave. Do your homework, or the smoke bringer will get you. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Stupid or not, it's working. Colony raids in the outer reaches dropped 40% in the last month. Torres shook her head. We just did our job. You did it with style, Gorvax corrected. There's a difference. Drath appeared at the table. Everyone straightened instinctively. At ease. Torres, walk with me. They stepped away from the table. I watched them move to a quiet corner. You've caused quite a stir, Drath said. Wasn't intentional, sir. Never is with you. The Academy Board wants to use your tactics as case studies. Your approach to the hostage scenario has been added to the curriculum. I'm honored, sir. Don't be. They're calling it an example of what not to do. Torres blinked. Sir? Oh, they admit it works, but it's too dangerous, too unpredictable, too reliant on improvisation. They want soldiers who follow orders, not think independently. That's short-sighted. That's politics, however. Drath handed her a data pad. Admiral Korsov is expanding Raven Squad. She wants you to train new recruits. Teach them your methods. Officially, this doesn't exist. Unofficially, you're building the future of special operations. Torres read the orders. This is a lot of responsibility, sir. You asked the enemy if they wanted smoke and delivered. I think you can handle training a few cadets. He paused. One more thing. That court-martial for destroying the defensive grid? Dismissed. Apparently saving 4,000 lives earns you some forgiveness. Thank you, sir. Don't thank me. Just keep doing what you do. The galaxy needs more people willing to question the rules when lives are at stake. He started to walk away, then turned back. And Torres? When they write the history books about this era, your name's going to be in them. Make sure they spell it right. I'll do my best, sir. 6 months later, Raven Squad had grown to 40 operators. Mixed species, all volunteers, all slightly crazy. Torres trained them personally, teaching them to think creatively, to use everything as a weapon, to never accept that victory was impossible. I watched a training session one afternoon. Torres had them running scenarios that would make normal instructors quit in frustration. "The rules say you can't win," she told her students. "So, change the rules. The enemy expects you to do what's logical. So do something impossible instead. Make them question reality. Make them doubt their intelligence. Make them wonder what the hell just happened." "And if we fail?" a young Torgelian asked. "Then you fail creatively and learn something for next time. Failure's not shameful. Failing the same way twice is lazy." The session ended. The recruits dispersed, arguing excitedly about tactics. Torres approached me. "You've been watching all day. Something on your mind?" "Just thinking about when you arrived. This small human who looked lost and scared. I was terrified." "You hid it well." "That's the secret, Krell. Everyone's scared. The trick is doing what needs doing anyway." She looked at her recruits. "These kids, they're going to be amazing. They just need someone to tell them the box they're supposed to think inside. It's optional. You've changed things here, the whole culture. More instructors are encouraging creative thinking. More scenarios are rewarding unconventional approaches. Good. Maybe we'll save more lives that way." Maya Torres, the human who came to the academy and asked if we wanted smoke. I clicked my mandibles in amusement. I wonder what your homeworld would think of you now. Probably that I'm still the weird kid who asked too many questions. Some things never change. True, but you're the weird kid who saved thousands of lives and revolutionized military doctrine. That's worth something. Maybe. Or maybe I just got lucky and convinced people to take chances. She grinned. Either way, it's been one hell of a ride. And it was. The human who came to the academy as one confused cadet had become a legend. Not through strength or speed or natural weapons, but through sheer creativity and the audacity to ask when facing impossible odds. "Do you all want this smoke?" The answer, it turned out, was usually no, but Maya Torres brought it anyway. Because that's what humans do. They bring the impossible. They question everything. And when the universe tells them they can't win, they smile and prove it wrong. One ridiculous, brilliant, terrifying decision at a time.